I'm going to share with you everything that I learned in my 90 days of World of Warcraft. I've been playing for, it's probably been a little over 90 days playing this game, but I digress. It's been super fun. I was playing a little less often. Like I wasn't like diving head first until not that long ago, actually. So not too long ago, I had a bunch of stuff happen, and so I ended up diving into WoW full force. And it's been a lot of fun. I made a lot of good friends, and I'm stoked about it. But there are a lot of gripes and a lot of things with becoming a new World of Warcraft player that I kind of want to address for the new player out there. You know, if that's you or if that's someone you know, they should hear all of this. Now, the first thing you'll see is leveling. Obviously, you have to go to level 70 or level 60 to play the new Dragonflight expansion, which is fine, I guess. It makes sense to an extent. The only downside is that you do have to play through the old content in order to get there. So if you're trying to buy this game to play Dragonflight, that's not going to be the case. Most of your leveling will be done outside of Dragonflight, unless you buy a WoW token, in which case you're going to miss out on a lot. So it's actually, I advise to just play through, especially if you haven't played an MMO. Just level up your character, learn your spells, because there are a lot of them. To put in perspective here, these are all spells that I'll use, except these ones kind of less so, and these ones kind of less so as well. But there's a lot of spells. It's crazy. It's actually insane. But that's just how it is, you know? That's the way that it goes. And so the big thing is to learn your abilities, learn what they all do. Now, there are a lot of like rotation guides kind of on YouTube that you can look up. I don't know if I'd suggest them. Now you have all of these talent points, right? So if you're watching a video on the old talents, it'll all be irrelevant. So I honestly would only suggest if there's a really current one to watch it. Hey, thanks, babe, for the 18 months. If there's a really current video to watch that, and if there's not a really current video, then I have actually found a few different websites that I will share as well. Every class, race, everything is in this website. It's called wowhead.com. I'll link it down below. Wowhead, I have learned a lot from. The only downside is that you do have to sit there and read through a lot of things that obviously you probably don't want to. I didn't want to. Most people won't want to. This is to share just like the little bits that like I kind of have picked up. My goal in this game was to clear the mythic raid on the hardest difficulty in 6 months. About three and a half months in, I cleared it most of the way on normal. Haven't cleared it on heroic yet. Mythic is obviously one step above that. I'm still a little ways away. Felt like this was a good point. Got through most of the end game content. Done a lot of Mythic Plus, done the raid, done everything, right? So figured I would share with you all. Now, first thing you're going to see, these different things here. Only thing I would look at on here first are your abilities and talents. So abilities and talents, you can see what each of them do, right? Which obviously you can also see them in game. This is just a little bit more detailed. And it'll show you what abilities that it's referring to. Because if you just read the word Shield of the Righteous, you don't know what exactly that is, but then you see the icon. And it kind of makes sense for you. Now, only thing, you won't have all of these. Like you can have all of these, but you won't be able to have all of them at once, right? Your talent tree will kind of like, you'll have to pick and choose which ones you want to keep, which ones you don't. And the easiest way to tell which ones you should or shouldn't keep when you're leveling is to look at what you're doing. So these talent builds for raids for Mythic Plus. these are for the dungeons and the raid. I would just take the the main one for Mythic Plus dungeons and just export that. Copy that right into your talent tree, have that be it. Because it's going to take so long for you to learn it all. But you'll kind of just pick it up as you go, and it's going to be rough if you try to do it without like any sort of background to start. So this is what I would suggest. Just pick like one like this and just copy paste. Don't even worry about which ones. Like there's like this is showing which ones are like important. Wouldn't even bother with any of that because I don't even know that still. I'm 3 months in. I don't know that. The game is so complicated. That's kind of part of the fun. So there's that. Then once you've been leveling, you'll end up clearing through BFA, which is well, actually you can kind of choose where you want to clear, like what storyline you want to go through. If you don't choose anything, it'll either take you through BFA, Battle for Azeroth is the name of the expansion. BFA for short. So if people mention BFA, that's what they're referring to, is Battle for Azeroth, that expansion. Or it'll have you play through Shadowlands. I had a lot more fun in Shadowlands than I did in BFA. I would recommend Shadowlands from the start because it's a lot prettier, I'm not gonna lie. Like everything looks cooler. BFA does look cool. It does look cool. Like the whole Zandalar thing is dope. But the only downside is that you won't be able to fly forever. Literally the entire time you're there, you're never going to be able to fly. You're going to level to max level and you still won't be able to fly. So don't even bother. Just go to Shadowlands. It's a lot easier to learn how to fly in Shadowlands. Having said that, it does suck that most of the areas that you will be in, you won't be able to fly. Once you get to level 60, you can then quit what you're doing, just stop it altogether. In my opinion, I would just stop it altogether and go to Dragonlands, or the Dragon Isles, and start doing Dragonflight, because Dragonflight is so much better. Holy cow. Having no prior like biases, because what I've seen is that if people have played the game prior, they have a bias towards all of the old areas, right? Which, I mean, they're not bad, but like you can't use dragon flying. And they definitely all look outdated, right? There are obviously some exceptions here and there, but for the most part, most of the areas that you'll be in look outdated. If it's not BFA or later. I recommend going to the Dragon Isles and just starting that questline because it is awesome. I have loved it. I also love dragon flying. It is so much faster than regular flying. I don't know how anybody likes the old flying system. You know, and if that's you, great, good for you. You can keep it, actually. I don't want it. I love the new flying. Dragon flying is so much faster than anything else. Unless it's like a teleporter, right? I didn't find out about this website until literally I was already level 70. So I grinded through everything with zero knowledge of anything. It was pretty alright, I guess. Wouldn't recommend, but I had my goal of getting to the Mythic Raid. So I just kind of powered through it till I got to Dragonlance, and then my life has changed, right? I haven't tried Legion. I haven't tried any of the older expansions. I will probably try them on a new character, but for now I've only played my one character so far, right? The only downside is that obviously I'd also have to play through not without dragon flying, right? So that's the other downside. So the cool thing about this website is you can have different talents for your PvP. If you end up doing PvP, a lot of people I don't know if it's typical or not, but in the guild that I found, they don't really do PvP. They just do PvE, which is these Mythic Plus. For people that don't know what Mythic Plus is, or for what a dungeon is, right? A dungeon is an instance. An instance is like a one-off thing that only you'll be a part of. So you won't see all the other players that are doing that instance. You'll only see you and your party. And during that instance, you know, it'll just be you guys. So no one's going to come help you, right? So in these dungeons, you'll clear through a whole like story basically, and you'll fight these different bosses. You'll start on normal, then heroic, then mythic, and then there's a thing called Mythic Plus. Mythic Plus, after you've cleared a dungeon on Mythic, you will get a key to a specific dungeon. Now, the thing with the Mythic dungeons, with regular Mythic dungeons, is you can only clear them and get loot once a week from that dungeon, right? Once you've cleared, you know, like Ruby Life pools on Mythic 0, that's it. You can't do it again. But if you have a key to that Mythic dungeon, you can go do it again and still get loot. And you can do that as many times as you want. If you get like 100 keys, you know, you find a bunch of people with keys and just join their groups, you can farm that dungeon over and over again. Now, the only downside is that you really want... I hate that you have to do this. And I really think that this is the biggest gripe that I have. You have to find other people to play with. And if you don't, it's actually going to be like significantly harder to do these dungeons and to actually clear these. See that it does have a specific talent tree for each dungeon. Like if you can't find a group to do these with, it is going to be harder. Because people are fucked up, honestly. Like, they're screwed up in the head and something is wrong with them mentally. And they're just quitters, honestly. And if you happen to be a new player playing this game and you're a quitter, I wouldn't recommend joining anybody's dungeons. Ever. Not a single person. Unless it's your homies that you want to backstab, right? So find some homies and do that to them, but I wouldn't join random people's keys. The problem is there is a lot of people that just leave your dungeon and brick your key when you've only cleared like one boss. You know, you just barely started and someone dies or someone messes up one time and your healer's gone. They just leave. And it's so fucked up because it's not their key. They're not getting screwed over. They're screwing over the person whose group they joined. And all of a sudden your key is bricked and now it's a lower leveled key. If you clear a dungeon at 11, you'll get a 13. If you don't clear it on 13 and somebody leaves and messes you all up and you can't clear it, it'll then downgrade to a 12. And if that happens 3 times in a row, all of a sudden you're back to 8, right? Which sucks, because a lot of the best gear you can only get through these dungeons, right? So, big thing with dungeons, raiding, all of this, right? The whole reason that you would do these dungeons and do these raids is for this Great Vault. The Great Vault, you will get... anytime you clear raid bosses, 2, 4, or 6 raid bosses will get you 1 piece of loot in the Great Vault. So obviously I have 3 options of loot to choose from in the Great Vault right now. Mythic Dungeon, I have only 1 because I've only done 3 out of 4 Mythic Dungeons. And the one I did was an 11, so I'll get an item out of that. And then PvP, you also get an item for that after you've earned a certain amount of honor, which you earn through winning. You also do earn a little through losing, but it's not really that much, so I would suggest just winning. Just don't lose. It's easy. The only thing is that this will be a piece of PvP gear. This will probably not be a set piece. This will probably not be your best in slot piece, but it'll be pretty good, right? And these ones are where you're going to get your best in slot gear. You'll either get it from here or from the raid itself. You do have the option here to do these like raid finder, dungeon finder. You can join random groups. Only thing is you can't do that with Mythic. You do have to actually find a pre-made group and join them. Like these people are doing a 22, right? And these are the roles that they have. In dungeons, you need a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS. So if you're a tank or a healer, you have a lot better chance of getting into one of these keys. And then let's say I want to join them, right? I go sign up, right? Let's say I sign up right now. They probably won't accept me. If they accept me, they're psycho. Yeah, they're doing a 22, which is way beyond me. I did an 11 this week, which, I mean, that's not like way beyond me, but like the only ones I've done are like 14s, right? So if I did a 14, there's no way I'm going to jump to a 22, because that's like so much harder. That's another thing, is you're going to have to find people that will add you, right? Another option is to join a guild. Now, finding a guild was honestly a lot easier than I thought. At first, I thought it was going to be pretty freaking rough. Not going to lie. But if you go to the guild and communities tab, this is my guild. So if anyone does need a guild, feel free to message me. I'll relay the information to these guys and get you in. Especially if you're a newer player. You know, these guys are a really chill, awesome group of guys. You can also create your own guild. The only way you can do that is if you have 4 people to sign your guild, like pass or ticket or whatever it's called. So you need 4 other players to sign up and be in your guild. And then you can officially like have a guild and then invite people and spam like in these group chats that there's always people spamming like, oh, join my guild. It's the best guild ever and it's awesome and it's amazing. Sometimes that's the case, but most of the time that's not going to be the case. It's not going to be awesome and amazing. So find a guild that you really want. The easiest way is you go to this guild finder and you go to the specific thing you want. Now, the only thing I haven't tried in World of Warcraft is roleplay. I haven't tried to like go into an RP server and try to play a character, right? I would be down to try it. I'm probably going to try it just because it sounds like a cool experience, especially coming from theater background, right? Playing a character again, that would be cool. But obviously not required. So I went for social and leveling, right? So I want them to be like a social group, because the reason I picked social is because I want to obviously find friends that are playing, but then also like if they're social, they're typically more chill and they aren't going to tilt as easily when you mess up, right? Then they'll probably help you through it, especially if you're a new player. And then I chose for raid because obviously raid is what I'm going for. Like my goal is for 6 months to be able to do the mythic raid, right? So I did that, and then I chose a large group. I would choose the largest group you can, because that's when you have the best chance of finding an active guild. Because even in my guild that I'm in right now, there's like 400 people. I've only met like 20 of them. Like my thought is like for every 400 people in a guild, like 20 will be like daily or at least weekly, like multiple times a week, will be on and playing, right? So go large. You can choose your role if you want. I didn't. I just hit search. And then I read these little descriptions. Obviously, this one, no description. Pass. Pass. 2 people, pass. Right? And then you can kind of just scroll through. If you go to large, large, you can see tons of different guilds. Like this one would be good. This for mythic rating. So rating, mythic plus, and PvP. That's perfect for someone who wants to do all of the endgame content. Highly recommend using this to find the one that you vibe with the most, right? See, this is where I found mine, right here. And then you request to join, and you type in a whole letter like talking about why you want to join. I would explain that you're a new player. I'd explain that you are trying to do X in the game. Right? Like if you're like, I put that I'm trying to create content and that I want to clear the mythic raid. Well, actually, I don't think I mentioned mythic raid. I think I just put raid. I want to clear the raid and play the hardest dungeons, right? And they accepted me. They're actually not aiming for the mythic raid, and they already have a mythic raid team. They're 2 out of 8. They've cleared 2 of the bosses so far. But all I have to do is just catch up, right? Like that's it. I just gotta catch up, and that's what the dungeons are for. As well as I can do the heroic raid, which I think they have a heroic raid night tomorrow, and so I'll do that on stream. But yeah, that's another thing that you'll want to keep in mind is finding a guild, to find a group of players to play with, and you'll meet a lot of cool people. It's awesome. It's an awesome game to get into, and I highly recommend it for everyone. I am also going to be making videos talking about my gripes, as well as little things here and there that I see in the game that maybe will help a newer player like myself, right? I'm only 3 months in. There's a lot of things that I'm still learning and figuring out how to do. Especially like I want to make a video on the professions, because I mean, it's hard to figure that stuff out. It's also hard to figure out, like, well, maybe not the profession so much, but like a lot of the little details, like add-ons and stuff like that stuff is kind of hard to figure out. So I'm going to be making a video for like the best add-ons for newbies, different things that I wouldn't recommend doing as a newer player versus things that I would recommend doing as a newer player, because there are certain things that, like, if you try to do it as a new player, you'll probably not be happy that you did it, and that's what I'm here for. So I appreciate if you stayed tuned this long. Feel free, leave a comment and a like on this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.